We're going to go through these slides quickly. We're going to look at the first column here is the cap space. The only different number across this column is that red Bills number. That means they're $100,000 and then some out of compliance with the cap space. Whereas every other team there, this is their cap space they have to work with. Except that's not the full story because you see it in the next column. There's something called effective cap space. This is your cap space plus three other things. You have rollover from a prior season of unused cap space that you put into the current year. You have restructured contracts in which you say, okay, we're going to pay you a bonus. We're going to pay you the same amount, but we're going to turn it into a bonus so we take it off our cap. So it's sort of like a skeevy accounting trick where you take it off the cap by making it a bonus, saying if you score 3 touchdowns in 5 games, we're going to pay you the amount we said we would. That is sort of the there's also the void years where it's another skeevy trick where you say you're going to pay someone across 30 years. You know it's not true, but it's basically we're going to defer payments from then on and then on to make sure that the current hit isn't so bad. There's also the ability to the ability to roll over across years, to do bonuses, or thirdly, just have some cap room from the previous season. The next column, active cap spending, basically not that interesting. It's saying that they have this amount of money invested in the total expenditure towards the salaries in total, just in total. Dead money, that's more interesting though. Dead money involves when you have to fire somebody, maybe it's a career-ending injury, and you have to fire someone you've been paying a lot, but it's dead money. You still made the contract with these people. You still have to pay them out, and this is money that takes away from your cap space, where it takes from your effective cap space. The cap space remains the same. In the current year, 2025, the cap space is, the base cap is $279,200,000. And what's going to be pertinent for one of these follow-on slides, 2026, that goes up to 295,500,000. So here's the problem for the Bills. They're not being hit that bad. They could be penalized $5 million for this. They could lose a draft pick. The way that the NFL does its rules is that they could do something. You're not automatically going to be damaged. You have the potential to be damaged. This is what all the owners of all these teams have agreed upon with the NFL that they've installed in terms of the rules and their commissioner and all that. So another thing that could happen is that they can void contracts, and voiding a contract according to what has been agreed upon with the NFL-PA, and that's the Players Association. So you can see that the Chargers are middle of the pack because this isn't the full NFL. This is the bottom portion of the NFL. As we go on to the next slide. Here we have the top of it. The Patriots, though, in the next season, you're going to see all of these teams are dancing on a knife. And it's because of these deferred payments. It's because of these bonuses. It's because, they sort of kick the can, just like governments. They kick the can, and you'll see that they're hit. This is 2026 where that cap goes up, but still the contracts are finally hitting. So they might pay people more on the back end, okay, so that they don't have to worry about the cap in year 2024. You see teams like the Vikings having quarterback, they have to make some quarterback decisions. The Lions just have this all-star team that they were hoping to win the 2024 Super Bowl. They might have one last year in 2025, but that's it. They have to dismantle. The Chiefs are an aging team, whereas the Browns they're just managed poorly. Here's the Patriots. There you see it. And then the Bills are going to expand further just basically over Josh Allen being there. Hey, don't get mad at Josh Allen. They agreed to pay him that, and he wants the money, so there's no issue. Now, here's the CFL. At 100, it's $1 to, well, Canadian. It's $1 to 100,000. You get hit one for one, $1 for each, so it's $100,000. Then it goes to times two, and then times three from 100,000 to 200,000, and then 300,000. That so BC is getting the raw end of the stick. They're hitting themselves in the face hard. Not only that, they have two draft picks taken away because they hit over the $300,000 above cap mark. Whereas the Argonauts and the Rough Riders have a great team overall. And so this is going to happen if you're going to invest heavily in your team like they do. You're going to go over the cap on occasion. The Red Blacks, oh yeah, and BC got Rourke. That's what we're seeing here. We have veteran talent on the Rough Riders, namely Harris, the quarterback himself. And the Red Blacks here are in the red. I don't have any further details on the Red Blacks, so let's move along. But you can lose draft picks like the NFL. I don't know the salary caps of any other CFL team because part of the penalty is transparency like this. As we go to the next slide. And this shows the strength of the NFL and the CFL because it's the cap leagues that are the strongest leagues around the world in terms of American football. Now we have, so here's the Austrian Football League. It's Austrian. They took away the couple of the best teams to the European Football League. It's called ELF, or European League Football. So instead of having a Premier League atop of a Premier League, where you have Division Two, Division One, and the Austrian Premier League, the AFL here, instead of having a Premier League on top of that with ELF, they've decided to steal these teams instead of rotating them into ELF. So you're going to see a lot of these leagues are hobbled. Even the strongest European leagues that existed grassroots-wise are going to get hurt because of ELF. It's sort of an imperialistic American football league over there in Europe. So go on to the next slide. And that's why the AFL is now an amateur league. It used to be one of the strongest leagues, apparently. While the British American Football League, they just couldn't make money anymore. And disregard that number. It's basic. It's just amateur league at this point. It does have more talent than this next league just because it used to be a professional league, but this is the Irish league. And when I say operating costs, it's just like everybody's pitching in from the office and then some, contributing to their equipment and whatnot in training. That's the base cost, and we only want to do the base cost because there's 40 odd teams of people that do this as recreation. Now, does Ireland have the potential to be good like these other leagues? Yes, they have tall people with the right frames for football. And they have American quarterbacks of Irish-American heritage. A lot of them, including Tom Brady, by the way, are Irish ethnically. So you can imagine that there could be a strong league. There is interest, kind of, where this Irish league has potential if it does go pro. Here's the IFL. You see Kraft family presenting the IFL. That's because he sent $6 million to Israel to start this league. And it's going to be one of the better leagues because these are people that aren't from the region. A lot of them are from the United States and from Western Europe. So the Western Europeans have familiarity, and the Americans, Ashkenazim, they have an idea of actually how to play because they have experience. So the British League might be better for a little bit, but they're gonna fall off in terms of talent and probably make way for the IFL being stronger than them. Just because that these guys have familiarity, they have the culture of it. All of them have played high school football in American style in America. You know, they have the background. So the IFL might not be strong now, but you can see that $10,000 is just operating costs. It's basically amateurs. But then when you have the stronger teams, you get up to $40,000 within their league. It's the same thing as the Irish Football League, where there's a lot of these just happy amateurs just going about it. But then they mix that in with strong teams. It's like setting. It's not the same, but it's like having Barcelona playing Division Two teams. It's not really fair once they actually throw money at it. So, and here's the Turkish American Football League. This league is, I don't know the quality of it, but I know that Elf is considering sending a team to Istanbul or establishing a team there, and that will damage this brand eventually. But $50,000 is on the lower end of these leagues where the Irish league is basically an amateur league. But then we move up to the Israeli and the Turkish leagues, it's a real kind of pro, semi-pro style league. There's not much else to talk about this. The next slide is going to be nuts. The Romanian, oh, not this one though. This is Romanian. I don't know what FRFA. Just think of Romanian American Football Association. Not one of the more strong leagues, but $60,000, more or less equivalent with Turkey. I can't say which one's stronger. I know that the Romanian league is probably better just because they have more history playing the sport for longer. I do believe. Now here's the really whacked out slide. The Polish Football League was poached two of their best teams by the ELF and just damaging it and probably going to affect their solvency and the legitimacy of this league because their best teams have been taken away. Now, one of those teams, the Roslaw, I don't know how to say it, Panthers, Roslaw City Panthers, they were penalized for one of their players saying a racial epithet in a game in one of these IFA international competitions where they were representing the Polish national team. So their players were banned temporarily from participating in international competitions on the national team level. And the Panthers have complained about their players getting injured in these international competitions too. So there's been some grinding over that. And eventually the Panthers said that the Polish Football League was afraid of going the step further to professionalize further. And so they left them for the ELF. And the ELF is interested in stealing two other teams. So they really cut the knees out of these leagues. But $80,000, you're starting to get into another echelon of play here. So the problem I have with the ELF is that they have all these grassroots leagues with Premier Leagues. What if the top league that wins the Premier League leaves their domestic league and plays within the ELF and then has a relegation system, or it's rotating where I'm in the ELF this season and the next winner of the Polish league is going to replace me regardless of how I perform in the ELF? That's what the ELF could have done. Instead, they're damaging these grassroots movements and becoming the only game across an entire continent. As we move on to the next slide. So that's the most spicy thing, is definitely the Polish story right here. This is the Belgian League, BAFL, or the Belgian American Football League, I imagine is what it's called. Equivalent to the Polish League. However, this league is intact for now, I think, and has a lot of money across their franchises, so that's good. Just not much else to say there, though. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, yeah, there's the Norwegian flag. This is Elite Syrian, is how I read it. Well, anyways, this is the Norwegian League. I believe there's a league with them in Denmark. I don't know if this is the one. It doesn't look like the one. Where this league is all of the Norwegian, all of the Nordic countries, they understand their languages, so I might be misremembering that. But this league's been around for a while. A competent league, $80,000, a strong league. I don't have anything else to say in terms of its strength comparatively to other leagues, but interesting enough. The ELF has sort of a mid-step where they have the Nordic team which represents Denmark and Sweden, that doesn't really affect Norway. It doesn't really affect Sweden, and it doesn't affect Denmark that much because it's sort of a nebulous thing. As much as stealing from other leagues, it's a real expansion team, but it's going to be within the Swedish slash Danish market. It's not going to hit Norway as hard as this. They will likely try to go after the Oslo team though. But not, yeah, again, not that much to say here. Just, they're standing strong at 80,000. Here's the National Ligaen of Denmark on those big islands there. And here you see a stolen logo from Arkansas. They even call themselves the Razorbacks, same colors. The Copenhagen Towers are one of the strongest teams in this league. At $150,000, it's a lot of affluence in this one. Really legitimate league right here. As we go on to the next slide. And the Gold Diggers are the most recent dominant team, but the Copenhagen Towers are the traditional power here. Here's the Super Syrian of Sweden. Super Saiyan, more or less. This team is, and like the Danes, they are sort of a half step affected by ELF. They haven't been poached yet either. $160,000 we're getting there in terms of strength of wealth, which doesn't mean talent. Doesn't mean you can grow talent, but it means they have more money to throw around in terms of total player salaries. I don't have much to say other than the youth of the country are getting up to speed in terms of being more competent in American style football. There's some of the best talent here, despite being a small population. They have some really great players. There's a history of Swedish Americans being good football players too. Now, here's the French National League Division One or Elite Championship. Very nice. It's the Triple FA or French Football something America. I don't know. But this is one of the stronger leagues that we've seen thus far because we keep on getting higher and higher in terms of the payouts, in terms of total salary expenditure. All of these leagues are divisions, so this is the Premier Division 2. This team has been hit hard by the ELF. There's some anger over ELF player usage, and then they want to use them domestically in this league as well. They've stolen cities, that sort of thing. It's going to be a problem here with the ELF. I don't think this league's going to be hit that hard, but it's going to censor the professionalism where these teams are semi-pro, they might go amateur, that we've seen in Britain, even though Britain wasn't bullied by the ELF at all. They're going to be helped by the ELF. Here's the Italian Football League. This is one of the leagues that was poached by the ELF. But you can see $320,000. This is one of the strongest leagues in the recent history. There's a lot of concentration of power that's consolidating with the ELF, while this IFL league used to be one of the strongest leagues. It tried to prevent the ELF from stealing one of their teams, and they were able to anyways. A powerful league that's going to continue to get weaker, I suppose, like all these other ones. Here is the Liga Football Americano Mexico. This is, see, even Mexico has a very strong potential. There's a $400,000 soft cap. A lot of the teams are not nearly close to that. It just has the potential for it. So I know that it looks like it's wealthier than you may lead you to believe. But at the same time, that soft cap's there for a reason, and some of the teams get up there. So the Western Hemisphere, that's where the strong leagues are currently. If we go to the next one. And it's away from the ELF footprint, so the NFL's not going to take these teams. So think about it like that. And here's the GFL. They have hit, ELF has hit the GFL hard. It's still a popular league in Germany, the GFL, or the German Football League. They've taken perhaps three teams from this league. So a lot of angst over that. But look at the $550,000. We're getting there. This is a defunct league in America. Even in a semi-pro league, it has one of the oldest teams that have played professional football. 800, no, 1896, not 800, 1896. Some people have disputed it's 1898, which puts it on par with the Decatur Staleys and the basically the current Chicago Bears and the Arizona Cardinals. Those are the two other teams in 1898. There's one team called the Red Blacks, actually, not the CFL team, but the Watertown Red Blacks that have played football since 1896. But this one folded, but that Red Blacks team still plays in one of those other Northeastern semi-pro leagues that nobody really knows about. And why don't the Packers do something about this one? See that? Another knockoff one. So go to the next slide. It doesn't matter anymore. It's defunct. These guys are probably UFL equivalent, if I'm being honest, when they still existed. Even though they didn't exist during the UFL's existence because the UFL was the XFL and the other one. And here's the villains right here. The $1 million cap. It could probably be a higher cap, but they're also taking teams from multiple regions of Europe. That's the issue. A lot of the teams can't get up to there because they're coming from Eastern Europe and Western Europe, where there's still a disparity there. But eventually, across time, longitudinally, they're going to get up to a 1 million cap, and it's not that much of a big ask. Where I don't think you see much of a problem with there being a talent gap with those numbers right there. I have to research more into this and see the differences, and except I don't think that it's open to the public. The NFL is the only league that gives you the raw data in terms of expenditures and such. But this is the ELF, the European League of Football. Uh, Instead of saying, okay, we're going to take the top two teams from England, France, Spain, all these other ones, Romania, every season, and we're going to rotate them out next season for the new league champ. They've just stolen teams. They've damaged the uh, grassroots movements for American football to be the only show in town across the continent. So a lot of people are positive about the ELF existing when it could have been collaborative instead of destructive. So that's how I view them. Here's the UFL. Even more money just being a semi-pro crap league, you know. I think the UFL's talent is better than the ELF. Not just in terms of, yeah, you see financials. All of these players have played in NCAA football. NCAA football is a higher order of talent than the ELF, for example. It's a better talent than the German Football League because the talent pool's there. They have the numbers and the actual talent to get it done. It's similar how the Israeli Football League is better than the Irish Football League or the British Football League eventually. It's because they have been trained. Once these other countries are trained to the skill set of being an American footballer, they're going to be more similar to the UFL, which is like the sort of the leftovers of the NFL, if I'm being honest. And here's that vaunted X League. The ELF can't reach them. The ELF can't reach them. And they're at $4,158,000. There's some company teams, but you can hire people from abroad too. It's one of the oldest teams in this list, oldest leagues in this list. Let's see what else I have here in my notes. Not much other than it's a strong league. outside of my notes, I just know that they win a lot of international competitions against Europe. You know, they just have the skill set. They've been trained. Do they have the frame that the Europeans have in Ireland? No, but they're trained to be American footballers, and that still gives them an edge. Now you have the CFL, um, and that's the $6 million league right there. 6,062,365 cap currently, and that's going to go up a little bit higher next season too. Where you see that this is one of the premier leagues, but then it's dwarfed by the NFL though. The CFL, the Canadians national team, they win these international competitions too. And unlike many of the Japanese players, they have the size and frame to not only have the talent, like skill set, but also the physical sort of frame that they need to be a good footballer. But here's $255 million NFL. So the NFL wanted to, it could have just kept on losing money in Europe, but this is the damage of not solidifying it. Is now the ELF it's its own thing, and it's stealing their it's stealing all the old names from teams. For instance, they're going to bring back the London Monarchs, an old NFL Europe team. It's just so they're taking away copyright and all that. Didn't have to deal with that, but I thought it was a good thing that NFL Europe fell and places like German Football League exist. That they have their own national identity is not a bad thing. I think that football is a patriotic sport. So the existence of the CFL is more valuable than adding CFL teams to the NFL. If it has to amalgamate in the future, whatever. If one league needs help, then sure. But to damage the CFL by having a NFL team in Toronto, Montreal, and all these other places is less valuable than letting the Canadian Football League be the patriotic league of Canada, or the Western Hockey Association, I suppose. It's it's a very patriotic sport in general because you're suffering, you're going through the stress of the game, that sort of thing. You're bonding together with your teammates like you're in a foxhole. That's why it's a patriotic sport, or it's inclined to make people be more unified as a collective tribe, as a team. That's why it has a lot of corollaries with pride in who you are and where you're from. That's the strength of there being a Canadian Football League separate from the NFL. But you see, the NFL is sort of a benevolent emperor in the sense that it could be in charge of the IFAA, whereas the international competitions where you have national teams, including those from America, compete, but the NFL doesn't is not in control of that. It didn't establish that, but it could have. It could set up a competing one that would take control of whatever the IFA is in charge of, with little effort. It could probably try the NFL Europe thing again and just outspend the ELF. It doesn't do that. So in many ways, the NFL is more benevolent than the ELF, despite all this money. But you see this money where capitalism just becomes true communism after a while. If you have this wealth and you roll it over, roll it over, roll it over without losing it, then you just expand on it. And that's where you get this salary cap right here. Just ridiculous at $255 million even. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this brief overview of international leagues. I know that I didn't touch Gaelic football, which is basically you can run 4 times with a spherical ball and then you pass it off. But you pass it off by volleyball hitting it or kicking it to someone. It's sort of a hybrid between rugby and soccer. And then there's the Australian Rules League, where you do the same, but you don't have to. You can keep on running with it. You don't have to do the 4 steps. Basically, another version of Gaelic football. Um, we'll talk about rugby here and there, but that was the video for today. Bye for now.